Did you see the hashtags I sent you?
Yeah. Hello, 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 everybody. Hello. I hope you guys are all doing good. Uh, Sika here in the house. It's Sunday yet again, and I have my sister, as always, in the house for us to have another very interesting discussion. Something that happens to a lot of us that we don't really seem to be quite mindful of. We probably just brush it aside. We don't think it's even a thing. Some of us don't in our community. And we allow it to fester, and it can be a very difficult issue to deal with. And that is nothing other than trauma. And trauma is something that can take very different forms. Imagine that you're married, your marriage is going well, everything is hunky dory, you have your children, life is good, you're working, your husband's working. All of a sudden, your husband is struck by some sudden illness, and without any warning, he passes away. Now, the whole dynamic of your homestead is changed. You have to now take charge and run the home. And this goes for both couples. You know, it could be the husband, it could be the wife, or you're married. You've always wanted to have a child. You finally have that child, and unfortunately, the kid passes. Or your wife goes to have a child and dies in the midst of that. Um, Family accidents, you know, and one of many numerous people in your family, they lose their lives. It's a point that can bring about trauma in your life. Natural disasters that happen. All of a sudden you live in a town, and then there's a flood, there's an earthquake, there's something. Like there's so many different facets to the things that can lead to trauma. And a lot of the times, we don't even name it or call it what it is, not to even think about how to find ways of dealing with it. But unless you can name something and identify and understand and accept the fact that this is something that I'm dealing with, how do you solve the problem? For some people, it could be a long standing illness that has gone on for many years with no sign of relief. It might be something that you have to live with for the rest of your life. Like there's so many things that can bring these issues up. And I have my very intelligent and well-rounded guest on today to help me unpick this issue. Now, I'm going to share the link in the comment section on this video, and I entreat everybody who just wants to hop on. You don't have to show your face. If you just want to hop on for a few minutes and share a view, talk about something that's traumatized you, you can go ahead and do so. I have been reliably informed that the link that is posted on the YouTube channel tends to allow people to enter the platform or the show and are able to express their opinions. And so if you try the link on Facebook and it doesn't work, it's still Sika Educates on YouTube as well. It's the same name across all social media handles. Please hop onto YouTube and try and join us that way. We would love to hear from you. And as I said, you don't have to show your face. And so I'm not going to waffle on anymore. That is why we are not showing our faces. That is to encourage people who want to talk without, being um, people noticing or realizing who it is to be able to do so. So without going any further and waffling, because I'm very good at that, I'm going to allow my sister in the house, Ekuamua, to give us her nuggets on this very issue. It's something that is happening. It is happening. I am sure in my lifetime I've been traumatized by something, and I want her to set the ball rolling. Ekuamua, are you in the house?
Yes, I'm in the house. Sika, thank you. First, want to say hello to everyone who is joining us this beautiful Sunday afternoon. We thank you for joining us this afternoon. Um, and please don't forget to share the videos. It might change someone's life. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We want to create more content. So please subscribe, please share as you listen. So I just not just talk about trauma. All of us have some sort of trauma in our lives. And I just want us to walk back into our memory lane.
Mhm.
Some of us growing up, maybe you grew up in a home where it was only your mother, you didn't have your father there. And
Mhm.
the talk of your father present was a taboo
Mhm.
because of what your father had done to your mother, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's abuse, whether it's neglect, whether it's abandonment. We all
Mhm.
saw last time where the lady interview, I believe she interviewed one lady who was famous on TikTok,
Mhm.
and she talked about her dad.
Mhm.
That is trauma that she's trying to cover up
Mhm.
by
The line is breaking up, and I'm not really sure why it's doing that, but you're really breaking up, and we can't really hear you. Even I can't hear you. Are you still there? Guys, my guest is going to go and probably come back again. But yes, as she was trying to explain there, trauma takes different shapes and forms. Trauma happens in different ways. And when she comes back, I would get her to continue where she left off. But trauma can present itself in a whole host of ways. You're a young girl, you trusted the men that you grew up around, and somebody in your family, took advantage of you in an intimate way. That there's incest type things going on in a lot of families, and especially in our communities. We're not even allowed to talk about them. You know, these things are going on. They're going on. They're happening. You know, and so if you're experiencing any type of trauma, something that scares you, something that is a source of fear for you, only you know what it is that you're dealing with, and only you can tackle the issue. It is only manageable and bearable for you to be able to deal with this issue if you can even call it out and name it for what it is. And all of us as adults, if we will own up to it, we are all going through something that traumatizes us. For some people, as my sister was saying, it has to do with a breakup of your family. Your father put your mom in the family way. Your mom gave birth to you, and as soon as your mom was pregnant with you, your dad abandoned her to be the single parent that is responsible for you, and that is a source of trauma. I've talked about, being abused by a family member. I've talked about that. There's a whole host of things that can traumatize a person. For some people, there are people that I know who have been married for yonks. They want to have children, and for whatever reason, it's not happening. They've tried everything, they've been everywhere, they've gone to see everyone, and it's not happening. People have gone through cycles upon cycles of IVF, and it's not happening. All of those instances can become something that traumatizes people. Ikuamu, are you here? No, she's not back. So, guys, you know yourself. You know yourself. Unless you are prepared to call something out by name and own up to it that this is what is wrong with me, that is half the battle won. And then you can move on to actually get the therapy and the counseling and the support that you need to be able to deal with it. But as a people, we always take the easier option, which is to sweep it under the carpet, which is to not do anything about it. In fact, a lot of us don't even know what trauma is. We don't think that trauma is a thing. And so we see a lot of people act out in different ways that to us doesn't make sense. But when you've sat down and you've looked at a person and understand that a lot of the times people act out in different ways. It is not because they're trying to be difficult. It is not because they're happy with the way they're behaving. Sometimes it's to cover up a source of pain, because a lot of us feel very uncomfortable when we're in pain, and we don't want to address and face up to that pain because it's going to hurt. And so it's easier for you to take that high road of covering it up, pretending it's not happening. And that is that. Pastor Patience, great to see you. How are you doing? There's so many things that can lead to this kind of a problem. A few days ago, I talked about I talked about this woman whose husband had uh, gone to have children with her own goddaughter. Not one, but two of them. And the husband went on to marry this goddaughter in secret, and yet talking to the wife as if, this the goddaughter had this imaginary boyfriend out there who had been the person that had caused the pregnancy in the first place. All these things are sources of trauma. If you're a baby and your mom passes on in the process of giving birth to you, and you grow up and you get told that this is what happened, that your mom was trying to have a child, and as a result of that, she lost her life, she passed on. A lot of people hold on to that and blame themselves that they were the cause of what has happened, right? If you've had long spells of illness, and I can attest to that, if you've had a particular health issue that you've carried for many years, you've had this health issue, you've tried everything. Now, this thing has become something that you probably have to live with for the rest of your life. That can also be something that causes you to go through trauma. A lot of us humans, as long as you live on the surface of this planet, there has to be something that is causing a source of trauma in your life. But how many of us would actually own up to it and call it out by name and say that, you know, this is something that is causing me pain. This is something that I have to address and deal with, because if I don't, then I can't live a normal life. There's so many of us, maybe when you were growing up as a young person, you met this guy or this woman that you loved more than sense. You gave up your very life for this person. You all saw what happened to Bimbo, who is no longer with us anymore. You could tell that that young girl started this relationship. She was 15 years of age with this guy, gave up her schooling, her education, her school fees, everything, wanting to see this guy make it, go and consult all kinds of oracles and everything just to make this guy a success, thinking that that's what's going to keep her home, that's what's going to give her the life that she desires, and all of that. None of that happened. None of it happened. Now, this girl ended up losing her life, right? And so there's so many things that can cause trauma in a person's life. And if you're not prepared to face up to it, call it out for what it is, and deal with it, you are not going anywhere in a hurry. Some people have been um, thrown all over the place. The family is completely shattered and broken. Why? Because there's been some kind of civil war that is out of your control. All of a sudden, you live in a country and war has broken up, and you guys are all displaced. You're all over the place. The mom has gone somewhere, and all of that. That can become a source of trauma to a heck of a lot of people, because now you become refugees in a country that you don't even recognize, that you don't know anything about. And now you're having to find yourself. And a lot of these people that have gone have lived in these painful situations. in a war-torn country. Some people sleep and they can hear gunshots, like they can hear the sound of shots being fired. Can't sleep. If all these things are going on in your life and you haven't been able to come to that place where you are owning up to the point and the fact that this particular thing is a point of trauma for me, you are not going anywhere. There's so many young ladies who, as children, were taken advantage of by men. It could be their boyfriends, their brothers, uncles, cousins, fathers, grandparents, like any male person in your family. When that thing happened to you so many years ago, because it was such a painful source of a source of pain for you, you've decided that you don't want to talk about it, so they cover it up. They cover it up. Don't want to talk about it, so they cover it up. They pretend, they hide anything to make them feel good about themselves and help them to block that pain out of their minds. Is what they do. It's a very, very, very difficult thing to be going through. Guys, I could go on and on and on about the things that can cause us pain in our lives. I could go on. I could go on about the things that cause us pain in our very lives. But I'm here this afternoon. I'm still trying to get my guests back on to shed light on this further. But whilst we're doing that, I'm here to entreat anyone who is going through this kind of a situation in your life, that it's about time. Call trauma out by what it is and go get the necessary help that you need. As a people, we don't think that counseling and all of that is a very necessary thing that we have to do. Ekwam, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, Sika.
Brilliant.
Can you hear me? I had to switch the
Yes,
device because someone
yes,
called me and
yes,
he just killed my mic.
yes.
Yes.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So, well, I don't know. I don't even know when it cut me off, but I was saying a story about a guy
Mm-hmm.
who, at a very young age, the father abandoned the mother, and the mom was the one that was that took care of him, and eventually went through the hustling. He made it abroad, and what this guy realized was that anything that he starts, he never finishes it,
Mm,
and he struggled with relationship.
mm,
And because he struggled with relationship, he struggled in his workplace, he struggled in really moving up the social ladder.
mm,
So one day he was sitting there and he was talking to someone
mm,
and narrating his story about
mm,
how his father walked out on them.
mm,
And the person would looked at him and said to him, "My brother, you are suffering from soul wounds. And soul wounds comes about as a result of trauma.
mm,
And because you are suffering these soul wounds, all the hurt, you struggle with trust,
mm-hmm,
you struggle with neglect, abandonment,
mm-hmm,
rejection,
mm-hmm.
and because of that, you're not able to commit 100% to anything
That's right.
because you feel like anything that you do, one way or the other, you're going to lose it or it's not going to be successful,
Mm,
or like you're constantly being pushed back to what happened to you as a child.
mm-hmm,
And many of us, these are what we're suffering, the
mm,
spirit of retrogression. We
mm,
move one step forward and we move 10 steps backwards
mm-hmm,
because of the wounds that has happened, the damage,
mm,
whether through abusive relationship, whether through sexual assault,
mm-hmm,
whether through somebody undermining us.
mm-hmm.
in anything that would do, or maybe your mother abandoned you, your
Mhm.
father didn't want you,
Mhm.
nobody wants you, so you feel like you are in this world by yourself, and
Mhm.
because of that you cannot commit to anything. You
Mhm.
cannot come because you're not going in 100% because you don't want to go in 100% and then somehow you end up being abandoned on the way.
Mhm.
And we carry all of these wounds into relationships.
Mhm.
We carry it in the way we even raise our children.
Mhm.
And some of that's how we're raising our children abroad. You know, you see that someone will say, oh, man, their child will come and say, oh, daddy, I want to do this. Daddy, I want to go here. Or daddy, can you come to my school? Daddy, can you? And they'll be like, ah, man, mama and papa, yes, look at me. I turned out well. No, you didn't turn out well. Because you have suffered that trauma. You're passing that trauma to your own child.
Mm.
You know, when I was in school, I when I came back, I had to go and sell and do this before I can get money to pay my school fees. Well, this is Canada.
Mm.
You went through that traumatic experience. It doesn't mean that you should do pass on that trauma to your own child.
Mhm.
You're already struggling with
Mm.
that.
Mm.
And that's what most of us we are doing. We are taking it into relationship because our fathers did not take good care of our mothers. So as husbands, we don't know how to take care of our wives.
Mm.
And there's chaos in our homes
Mm.
because our souls are wounded.
Mm.
Trauma, trauma, we are passing the trauma on. You came from a polygamous home. You knew the consequences. You yourself, you are traumatized. But yet, you also want to take on the same trauma and bring it
Mm.
into your present relationship.
Mm.
Your father had children everywhere. You were not happy about it because it traumatized you. Because at the end of the day, you had to share your inheritance with so many people that keep on creeping up and saying, I'm also Mr. Johnson's son or Mr. Johnson's daughter. But
Mm.
yet, you yourself, you are not disciplining yourself. You're also doing the same thing.
Mhm.
That is so wound. Today,
Mm.
you have child with Ajua. Tomorrow, you have child with Amma. Tomorrow, you have child with AC. Even though you are not married in a polygamous, but you're living the life of a polygamous person.
Mm.
That is trauma
Mm.
that you're not dealing with. As women, we've been traumatized, whether we saw our parents, our father, taking advantage of our mothers and stuff. So we ourselves, we are in relationship, we are not giving our 100%. We
Mm.
are hiding so much things. The makeup will not cover it. All those emotional wounds, you need to learn to get yourself you have to get help. You
Mm.
need to get help. We need to get counseling. Because some of us, that's what you find people will say, oh, and I'm saying this because I have the privilege of really sometimes talking to really um kids who were born here, and sometimes the things that they will tell you, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. Parents, they say some things to these children, they have no idea. You have food, you have clothes, you have shelter. What else do you need? Why are you complaining? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Have you sat down and talked to your child or even examine yourself? What am I also doing to contribute to the emotional distress of this child? Because maybe you and the father are no longer together or the mother are no longer together, you are creating World War III, where there's division, argument, where you are always insulting the father to the child, you're insulting the mother to the child. That is trauma. You are passing your own trauma of your own bad experience in your childhood and passing on to your own child the thing that has prevented you from being who you are and succeeding. You are passing it on to your own child. You need to get help.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a very difficult thing. And if you don't, You just allow these feelings to fester.
Yes.
Yeah. Go on, my love.
Yes. You let these feelings, they fester. You become anxious, nervous. You're always overwhelmed. You're always grief stricken. You're always irritable. You have today you are happy. Tomorrow you are sad. You get very edgy with people. If someone is just telling you a joke, then you get upset.
Mm-hmm.
You are dealing with so much luggages. And without a clear mind and a clear conscience, how can you move forward in your life?
Mm.
Because your father that abandoned you, maybe they may be dead, but you are still carrying that luggage with you. How can you move forward? The Bible says, any man who's put his hand on the plow looking back is not fit for the kingdom. You cannot put your hand on the plow and at the same time you are looking back. It's not going to work. So we need to think about how we can get ourselves healed. But how do we get ourselves healed? Where we are in a place where we are always in increased conflict. We are always in disagreement with family members, with our co-workers. Somebody made a suggestion to you, you get upset, you get angry. You want to live a life that is isolated, and you want to be you don't want to be involved in any social activities because you're scared of being traumatized again. And I was listening to someone who said that people who are traumatized, they are likely to live 20 years less. So by being continuing to carry trauma, the trauma of rejection, the trauma of being sexually assaulted, the trauma of being abandoned, you reduce your lifespan by 20 years.
Imagine.
Because you know what? You most likely going to have headache.
All the time.
Experience chest pain.
Blood pressure.
Right? And all of these things combined with your pre-existing condition. Maybe you are a big bone person. Now you are carrying all of this unnecessary stress. For all you know, the people who you are even stressing over, there might be no more, or they have moved on with their lives. But then you're wondering, and then the person, and then my dad did not look after me, and my mother did not look after me, and they don't care, and then because of that, and then you are busy carrying all those ones around.
Meanwhile, your mom is happily singing in church,
exactly.
having fun at a party.
Singing in church. But yet, you don't know, this young man was carrying this, and because of that, nothing he was doing was succeeding. Because carrying trauma and soul wound around, it's like chaining yourself to a wall. You know when you chain yourself to a wall, your legs are chained because there's length in the chain. So as you are going, you will go, and then eventually the chain will pull you back, right? And that's what it is. The man that walked out on you, he's not God. And we as women, we have to be very careful how we let this trauma lead us in the way we raise our children. And the same with men. Because it didn't work out for us, we shouldn't pass it on to anybody. We shouldn't undermine ourselves. We shouldn't isolate ourselves because somebody did something bad to us. Right? Because when you do that, you are allowing the trauma to take over. So how can we deal with some of these things. I call it soul wounds. Those wounds that fester unto us, in our emotions, our thinking, the way.
Are you still there? Hello?
Can you hear
Are
me?
you there? Yes, we
Yes.
can now.
Can you
Yes,
hear me?
we can now.
Yes. So, what can we do? Do we have anybody else who want to share something before I share some of the things we can do to help us?
One thing I want to say, as somebody who would own up to the fact that there is at least one or two areas of my life, Ikuamua, that I've been traumatized, is that especially in an area of having a long standing issue, right? That you've lived with for so long that it's almost as if you've allowed this situation, even though it's a negative situation, to take over your life to be to the point where you've normalized it. And so when that issue isn't even there, it's almost as if you're not complete. It's a very crazy way of thinking for somebody who hasn't experienced what I'm saying. But just imagine that you've had a long standing medical issue that you've tried everything under the sun to make it go away, to make you feel better, and it's not happening. And one of the things that I have identified personally is that negative speaking, the words, the negative words, that whether you speak it out of your mouth or you think it in your mind, you allow to take charge and have a hold over your life. The Bible says that the power of life and not having life is in the power of the tongue. For me, it even goes deeper than that. When you even think it, you've even started giving it energy already to start having effect on your life. If you've been ill for many years, you just get to this point and it's like, this is just me. You've kind of said to yourself that healing is not even possible. And so it's like you've accepted the fact that you always are going to be ill and that is who you are. A lot of us women, and I'm going to say this, a lot of us women, if we own up to it, especially we African women that come from back home in Africa, if we will speak the truth today and allow that truth to set you free, if we take 10 women from Africa, I will stick my neck out and say 80% of us
Mm.
have been traumatized in one way or another by a relative in your family. Speak the truth, and that truth will set you free. I'm not asking you to own up to it here on a live video if you don't want to, but speak that truth to yourself. If it wasn't your brother, it was your cousin. I know somebody in her 60s right now, Ikuamwa. It was her own father who was arranging his friend, a fellow so-called preacher, to be taking his children, his daughters, who were twins, in tens for years.
Hmm.
For years. And because of that, this person that I know suffered so much in marriage until recently. Abusive relationships, men with beatings, people thinking they can take advantage of you because you've already told yourself that because of that event that happened, it's like you're a woman, but you're a half woman because now somebody has taken the best part of you anyway. So you're unworthy. Some of us women who have gone through those traumatic, abusive things have said to ourselves that because somebody took me when I was whatever age, I am not deserving to be shown love. Ekuamwa, can you believe that some woman that I know personally, she told me that in the marriage that she's in, the day she and her husband have an argument, the guy gets so mad that he beats her up mercilessly. That is when she's excited because that night the intimacy level is on another level. Can you imagine that?
Because that's what she's used to.
Uh-huh.
That is the trouble. And she has no idea that she needs to deal with it.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And because of that, she thinks it's normal.
Good.
She thinks it's normal. And that's one of the things, and that's the one of the reasons why you see a lot of African men,
Hmm.
and not African men, a lot of black men,
Hmm.
they feel like it's normal for women to bear the responsibility of raising children. Although this is something that apparently it's something that, especially when we talk about Black Americans, apparently this is something that as a result of one of the consequences, the trauma of slavery,
Mm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
something that becomes very repetitive to the point where you think it's normal as a man to have children everywhere, or it's normal as a man to leave your responsibility as the head of the household in the hands of a woman, leaving raising up children in the hands of a woman.
Mm.
Those are all things that is traumatizing
Mm.
our society.
Mm.
That's why we see children doing things that you're not supposed to do.
Mm.
That's why we see abundance of, sexual immorality, a lot of bad things happening in our community, in our neighborhoods,
Mm.
because the system has been traumatized and it has been disaligned. It's no longer aligned,
Hmm.
where what needs to happen is not happening. That a man will give away his own children on
Hmm.
a dime
Hmm.
just to become somebody and
Hmm.
never think about his children as a seed. Your
Mm.
child is a seed.
Mm.
Your child is a seed. So if you don't water your seed and
Mm.
instead you stamp on your seed,
Mm.
you will have no fruit to eat in your old
Mm.
age.
Mm.
You have nothing to eat in your old age. That is why it's very hard to see transgenerational wealth in the Black community as a result of trauma that has not been dealt with.
Mm.
But people say, oh, but we have been through a lot. Yes. There are other communities that have also gone through slavery, that's also gone through being colonized, being taken, their land being taken away from them. But they are striving, because you have to know
Hmm.
that as a human being, there's a reason why I sometimes I don't really want to be very spiritual when we are talking about these things.
Mhm.
But there's a reason why the Bible says that we should forgive those who trespass
Against
against
that.
us.
It's true.
It's the reason why it's very important when the disciples asked Jesus, teach us how to pray. Jesus knew how important it is for us to let go of the hurt, let go of the disappointment, the backstabbing, the trauma. That is why he said what? We should forgive those who have trespassed against us. When
Mm.
somebody trespass, what does trespass mean?
Mhm.
Somebody has come into your territory and has
Mhm.
done damage to you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Somebody has taken something that's so valuable to you,
True. Yes.
that has destroyed you to the core.
Exactly.
Your mother rejected you. Your
Mm.
father rejected you. Maybe when
Mm.
your father died, he left all the inheritance to somebody else instead of
Mm.
you.
Mm.
Instead of you to hold on to that. Why don't you look to God?
Mm.
Why don't you find a psychologist, get help, and see where you can also build for yourself?
Mhm.
When we see the story of Joseph, Joseph was sold by his own brothers. So that means that in this life, you are going to be your own father, your own brothers and sisters will throw you into a pit and
Mhm.
don't care whether a lion will eat you, or
Mm.
don't care, will take your coat of many colors
Mhm.
and stain it with blood and go and tell your father that you are no more.
Mhm.
But you want to be like Joseph, that when you come out of the pit and they sell you and put you in chains,
Mhm.
that you learn to unchain yourself.
Mhm.
The trauma, the trauma that comes, you have to learn not to be like, you know, oh, my father did not pay my school fees. I have to work to pay for my own school fees. So, yeah, you work to pay for your own school fees.
Hmm.
You want to put your own child back in chains
Hmm.
because of your own trauma.
Hmm.
My father did not leave me a house. So me, all my money making, I'm eating all of it. I will not buy a house. I will not give you a house. You have to work for your own house. You want to put your own child back in chains. Because you are in chains, you want your own child to be in chains. How does it feel to be rejected that you also want to reject your own child?
Hmm.
How does it feel to be abandoned? That you yourself, you also want to emotionally abandon your own child.
Hmm.
Some parents are home with their children, but they have no emotional connection to them. That is in itself a form of abandonment. Just because you're physically there does not mean that you've not abandoned them. You have already abandoned them.
Hmm.
So we need to work on ourselves. The trauma. You sponsor a guy, you bring the man here. Oh, you think you guys are going to make a happy home. Then he comes, he now finds that he can now he can now have all sorts of different spices of women.
Mhm.
So he abandons you.
Mm.
And because of that, you're so bitter that
Mm.
you even hate your own child.
Mm.
You need to deal with it because it has consequences. You need to deal with that wound. You need to go and see a psychologist. Go and get help. You brought a woman here. Now that woman, she came here and now she realized that you're 20 years older than her.
Mhm.
Now she's gone for a spicy young man.
Mhm.
You need to deal with it.
Hmm.
That's a wound. That is trauma. And because of that, those children that you've had with her, when they ask you for child support, you get mad.
Mhm.
But don't forget, if you don't pay your child support, they're going to suspend your driver's license.
Uh-huh.
And they're going to take away your passports.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and because of that, you're upset. So you know what? You're not going to work. In fact, you stop working. You work at
Uh-huh.
the table.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you something. You will not get pension. You will grow old and you go to Canada pension, they will tell you that the only pension you have is $20 a month.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, you are old, you are frail.
There's nothing you can do.
You're gonna end up, you see those people. Sometimes I tell people, if you see people who are homeless out there
Hmm.
in Abrochire,
Hmm.
it tells you that heaven and earth can be here.
Mm.
Don't think that you are smart.
Mhm.
You can one day be like them
Hmm.
if you don't learn to get yourself healed.
Hmm.
Because people are going to hurt you.
Hmm. Part of life.
And those wounds will come.
Mhm.
It will come.
Hmm.
So you need to give yourself time to mourn your losses,
Hmm.
gather up, cry your eyes out, gather
Hmm.
up the pieces,
Hmm.
seek help, communicate your experience, talk to somebody, go and see a psychologist, talk to somebody, find a shoulder, cry on, and find something else that will help with your healing. If you are struggling and because of that soul wound, maybe you become an addict, go and get help. You wake up every day. If you don't drink alcohol, you're not normal. You
Hmm.
need to get help.
Hmm.
You need to get help.
Hmm.
Find a support group. Don't look at, if you are in African community, don't look at your African community. Oh. They have
Mm,
AAA group. If you open the
mm,
newspaper, it's there.
mm.
Go and
Hmm,
get help. And you have to find ways to cope.
hmm.
Get into a healthy relationship. And healthy relationship also begins with you having
Yes,
good mental health,
exactly,
surrounding yourself with the right people, living in
exactly,
the right neighborhood that has
exactly.
the right resources that can help you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to establish routines. Find things that help you cope. Find things that help you cope. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that you mentioned, Sika, is people doing negative confessions.
Mm-hmm.
People doing negative confession, avoid saying negative things up, because life and death are in the power of the tongue.
Mm.
Don't say negative things. I can't do it. And this one did
Mm-hmm.
not help me. And my
Uh-huh.
mother did not help me. And my
Uh-huh.
mother has money, but she will not
Uh-huh.
help me. And
Uh-huh.
those are all negative things. You're dragging yourself down.
Mm.
And if I write this test, I'm going to fail. If I do this, I'm going to do this. You're always confessing. If I apply for this job, oh, then nobody is going to even go to look at my resume. Nobody is
Yes.
even going to call me.
Why should
Nobody
I
is going.
bother?
Why
Hmm.
should I bother?
Hmm.
Sika, do you know that my job I do,
Hmm.
I've applied for that position more than 6 times.
Ah, only 6. Me apply for mine 8 times.
Exactly. Does that mean, so if I had stopped on 4,
Mm-hmm.
would I be in that position now?
No,
No.
no. Mm.
So we also need to get away from negative confessions. My mom did not do it for me, so I won't do it for my child. And
Mm-hmm.
then they say that's I won't do this. They have food, they have a place to stay. It's enough. Then you are hustling and bustling around. And you know one of the things I've realized, I've noticed about,
Mm-hmm.
and you know me myself, I would say me myself, I was there in my 20s
Mm-hmm.
until God touched me and God healed me.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about having those attitudes is that you never want to venture out to take risk.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to venture out to take risk, oh,
Mm.
because you are afraid of what
Mm.
will happen.
Yes.
And because if you don't take risk, it's very hard for you to make it in life without taking risk.
Ekwamwa, you take risk every day. Don't you drink water?
Exactly.
Do you drink water?
Yes.
Uh-huh. So if you drink water in your house, you drink water in your house. Look, I'll tell you a short story and I'll let you go on. There's this woman that was in England, in Birmingham to be precise, and she was Caucasian. She wouldn't step out. She didn't want anybody's germs. She just stayed indoors, and the system was taking care of her. Blah blah blah. Anyway, she was sitting in her own house, in her own front room, and her house was on the edge of a road, like in the corner of two roads that intersect, right? And one of the main roads was a bus route. Unfortunately, how it happened, only God knows. But the bus lost control. The driver couldn't just control the bus anymore. And guess what?
Oh boy.
Ikuamwa, the bus went straight into the house, to her couch that she was sitting in. Do I need to go on? So, you know what? I was just saying this to buttress this thing that our whole lives is a set of risks. Oh, I don't want to come out. This guy hurts me. And so I don't want to date any man in my life ever again. But you are still eating. You still eat food with bones in the fish and meat. Do you know that even a small piece of bone can get inside your throat and it can choke you? But every day you eat fish with bone now. Ekwamwa, continue.
You eat fish with bone. And that's one of the things, most of us, for me, one of the most traumatizing thing is passing those trauma to the next generation.
Terrible.
Passing those
Terrible.
trauma to the next generation. Some of us are from cultures where if your uncle doesn't take care of you, because your uncle uh took care of you, so you're also taking care of your nieces and nephews by your children and your house. You don't care how they educate. You don't care anything about how your household is run, because you are continuing the generation of trauma.
Hmm.
You are continuing. And some of us, because we also were exposed to all sorts of, our parents gave us away. In a way, we are also willing to give away our own children
Hmm.
on a dime because of trauma. Because of the trauma of a man that abandoned us. Because you know that there are some women, if their husbands leave them
Mm.
and then they have children with that man, they will hate those children
Oh
because
yeah.
of what the man did to them.
Mm.
And they will hate those children no matter what in fact, if those children fail, it makes them happy.
Hmm.
They rejoice when those children fail
I know.
because of the abandonment of their father.
Mm.
If that is not the saddest thing, then I don't know what else is sad in this world.
Hmm.
Sika, let's open up for people to join. If there's anybody that wants to join, please come and share how you have overcome your own trauma. Whatever trauma it is, whether it's through rejection, whether it's through abandonment, come and share, because you can save someone's life. You know, there's some people that have been so traumatized to the point that they have reached the point that they want to, give up their life. But if you come and share how you overcame, you can help save someone's life. Because trauma, that's why there's so much increase in mental illness right now, because people are holding on to things that they're not supposed to hold on.
Ekwamwa, whilst we're waiting for somebody, one person to jump on, please, is that for me, in my particular situation, the way to I figured out that I got to this point in my life where I was just stuck. That's God's honest truth. I was stuck. There was just too many things happening, so many things that caused the trauma. And I refused for a few years to even listen to the advice that I was being given, that the only way to deal with this pain that is coming out of the trauma is to face up to it, is to own up to it, is to call it out by name and do something about it. I didn't want to. And a lot of us in our community, this is how we are. Oh, well, what is this whole mental health? Me, I should go and see a shrink. For what? Why should I see a shrink? I should go and see somebody and go and talk to them. How is that going to help me? Why should I go speak to somebody? Guys, honeys, honestly speaking, the more you bottle up the pain, whatever it is inside of you, it's going to eat you up real good. You're going to look years older than your age if you don't want to take charge of your life and do something about it. And so for me, I knew that in my own community, people like to talk a lot. So I left my community behind. I did my own research, because for a lot of people, the reason why a lot of us don't want to own up to our trauma, what will people say? I don't want Ekwamwa to know what happened to me. I don't want anybody to hear. But you want me to come and share my trauma with you so that you learn the valuable lessons out of it. If you don't own up to your problem and call it out by name, if you're too embarrassed to talk about your problem, you're not going anywhere in a hurry. There's this adage in our Ghanaian dialect in Chi that says, "One tongue we yadia, If you're too shy to tell people that, you know what, I have hemorrhoid in my nyash inside. Who can help me, please? I have hemorrhoid for my nyash inside. Oh, I need somebody to come and help me. Nobody will. There's nothing. For all you know, your next door neighbor has remedy for hemorrhoid in nyash, but you didn't say it, so nobody knows. And this is our problem. I don't want to own up to it. I don't want anybody to know. I don't want anybody to know. And yet it is eating you up. It is eating you up. And you're slowly, slowly, slowly giving up your life without even knowing it. Is it worth it? Ekuamwa said something about some people have parents that are not even here anymore. And you're still mad that that great grand uncle, that father, that mother, that uncle, that brother, 50 years ago, they did something really bad to you. And because of that, you are upset. The person is gone. Person is happily living their life. And you are still here lamenting over it because you wouldn't deal with it. You can't move on. Your finances are bad. You're not saving anything. You're not even well enough to be able to take up the shift. Maybe you're a nurse. You can work all the overtime God sent, but you've decided that you're going to pamper this thing that is causing you pain. Because of that, you don't even have the physical energy to get out there and change your life. Trauma is a stronghold, Ikuamwa. It
Yeah.
really is. If you haven't experienced it, you will not understand what I'm saying to you. It is a stronghold and a very tough one at that. And if you won't name it and call it by name, Ikuamwa, you're not going anywhere in a hurry. Continue, my love.
Yes, it's called naming and shaming. Our sister Adama has a comment, and our sister Adama, if you can please, if you is a way you can connect and join us on YouTube, just to because we want this to be a discussion, because a lot of people are dying in this situation and refusing to get help, and
Absolutely.
it's really affecting our community. You know, people going through postpartum depression and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So she's saying that as a therapist, she encouraged people to first acknowledge their trauma. Living in denial only make things worse. We should seek help, begin to process your trauma, and identify positive ways to cope. But Sister Adama, thank you for the comments. And please, if you can, click on the link on YouTube and join us on Backstage. You don't need to show your face, and just give us your 5-minute input. We really will appreciate it. But going back to Sika, what you said, one of the things I also forgot to mention that I wanted to mention here, there's actually two things.
Mm-hmm.
Some mother-in-laws can also cause us trauma in our
Oh, man.
marriages.
Man.
Mother-in-laws and father-in-laws trauma.
Mm, mm,
We need to deal with all of that.
mm.
We shouldn't say, oh, because my mother-in-law is wicked. You know that I know somebody, because she was traumatized in her marriage. Now she is traumatizing her own daughter-in-law.
Oh, dear.
What they did to her that did not make her happy. She said, oh, if I was here, when I was married to my husband, and when I was married to my husband, and this, and now, and there was that, and there was that, and there was that, and there was that. Because they were traumatized. We usually see this, especially in Asian homes, East Asian homes, where mother-in-laws traumatize daughter-in-laws because they have no choice but to leave. They live with their own in-laws. They traumatize them by abusing them. I know mother-in-laws that will tell their daughter-in-laws that you are having too much children for my son. My son doesn't have money to take care of them, so go and get rid of this one. Mother-in-laws who join with their sons to traumatize their own daughter-in-laws. Mother-in-laws that when their sons are coming home from work, their sons will pass through by their house first before they make it into their own home. Those are all parts of the trauma that we need to deal with. Mother-in-laws that will come and torment you because you are barren, or you're not able to bear children for their son, and you are carrying this. And you think that because the woman is wicked. No, those are things that have also psychologically damaged you as an individual. That you need to deal with it so that you also will not do it to the next generation.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, as I was saying, if nobody's gonna come, then we're gonna wrap up. But before we do that, and to give people the last chance to jump on if they want to, is that the first step, as my sister said, is to name it, call it out by name. Admit to yourself that things are not okay with me. There's no shame in that. You know it. You're listening to us right now. You're not hiding. You're not showing your face. You're hiding. You're watching. You're listening. You know it in the core of your being that there's something that has been holding you back your entire life. It takes so many forms. We've talked about all of them, or most of the main ones. You don't have a child. Your heart is broken. You've tried everything. It's not happened. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, oh. It's not your fault. Have you forgiven yourself that you've tried everything and it's not happened? Have you come to terms with it in your own life to say that, look, this thing that I don't have is not the end of this life. I'm still breathing. I'm still living. There are other ways of solving my problem. I don't have a child biologically does not mean I cannot look after somebody else's child. Adoption is a thing. Fostering is a thing. That's one. Your great grandfather's uncle's father's great grandfather. I'm going to keep quiet and I'll allow our guest here to continue. Pastor Patience, the floor is yours.
Hi, Miss Sika. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm great. And what about our sister Ikramwa?
She's here.
How
She's,
is
she's just
I'm
muted
doing good.
herself.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for
I'm
joining.
happy to join you guys, girls.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I'm so happy. Yeah.
Mm,
I just want to contribute a little about the
mhm,
topic.
mhm.
It's very interesting, but at the same time, it's very sad. Yeah.
It is.
Because when I look into our community, I see a lot of people
Mhm.
that are dealing with silent trauma.
Yes.
Silent trauma. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to confide in anyone
Mm,
because anybody that is going through trauma has lost his or her trust. So for them, sometimes we can tell them, oh, go see a counselor, go see this. No, 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 she's afraid. He's afraid. That person is also going to cause me some traumatic issues. So I'm not talking about it. It's better for me to just keep it to myself. It's better
mm,
that way.
mm,
Not say anything about it because I don't trust anyone. That my uncle I trusted raped me. That aunt I trusted when my mom died betrayed me, treated me so bad. And so there's so many instances that man that I trusted, married to, caused me a lot of harm, a
mm,
lot of damage in my heart, broke my
mm,
heart. How can I trust another man again? I
mm,
don't want anyone to come close to me.
mm,
If you go to mental home, um, and you see those kids they've been through trauma, especially those that they've been abused sexually.
mhm,
They don't. If you are getting close to them, they are right. No, 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 don't come close. They are afraid of people, and sometimes they tend to abuse animals. They tend to abuse other people, and
mm,
they turn their anger on. That's why people hit walls and break things because they can't voice out. It's killing them within. And
mm,
it is sad. It's a topic I don't want to talk about, but I've been dealing for the past, last week I talked about it on my show, and it's sad. So many people are broken within. They are dealing with a lot of silent trauma.
mm,
And how can we help them to come out, to voice out,
mhm,
so that we can help them?
mm,
You can go and see a therapist. What are they going to do? Not much. The children that I deal with, they've seen therapy. Some are in some homes, they've been there for 1 year, whatever, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. If you are dealing with any kind of trauma in your life and you are watching this video, please, 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 trauma kills. It kills. Gradually, it's eating you up. You can never handle any relationship. If you tend to get into any marital relationship, you are going to abuse your children, your wife, and abuse yourself, because you will not be happy in that relationship. Your children will not be happy, and your wife or husband is not going to be happy, because you will exhibit some dramatic, things in that marriage. And your children will see it. I heard a grandma was saying it, and they will see it, and they will imitate it, and it will harm them. It will destroy them. Please, 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 if you are listening to us now, address the trauma that you've been through from childhood, adulthood, teenage life, wherever that trauma happened. You need to get to the root cause, and you cannot do it all by yourself. You can't do it. There's no way you can do it. So seek someone that is credible, that you can go to and confide in that person, and let that person help you out, so that you can be free from all those horrific scenes you've been seeing in your life, the graphic things you went through. Some are very graphic. Very, very graphic. Maybe someone, your dad used to rape your mom in front of you. You saw it. Abuse your mom, beating your mom up, throwing water on your mom and other stuff, all those things. It has cost a lot in your life, and you are dealing with it silently. That is the reason why you can't hold anything. You can't hold job. You can't hold relationship. And those people, they keep blaming other people. Yeah, because that man was like this, that boss was like this, that this was like that, because of what you have conceived in your mind. And they don't accept their fault. It's always everybody. It's somebody's doing something against them. Someone don't like them. No, it is you. Please deal with it. Deal with it. And when you seek help, it's really going to help you, that you will live your best life. Life is beautiful. And that is my word. I always say, life is so beautiful if you deal with your trauma. But if you don't deal with the trauma you've been through in life. I've been through trauma in marriages before. Everybody has been through trauma, some kind of something. Most of the people have been through trauma. Maybe your school teacher traumatized you. A kid in the school traumatized you. Something happened in your childhood, and it's been engraved in your DNA, in your soul. It goes deep down, deep down. That is why sometimes you have to take some kind of, native medication or something like that, so that it can stabilize, or it can neutralize the chemicals in the brain, the chemicals, the hormone, and everything is triggered whenever you are going through trauma. It messes up your entire body. It messes up your DNA. It messes up your cells. It messes up your blood. Everything, every cell in your body. Your brain chemicals, the nerves, whatever. And so some people, they may be taking medication, seeking help, out there, like a counselor, a mentor, a coach, whoever that you seek. Yes, so the chemical in the brain will not be restored. They will not be happy. They will be moody. Today they are sad, tomorrow they are happy. They go through anxiety and all those things. And so you need someone who can address all your trauma from the root to the chemical level, biological level, psychological level, spiritual level also. Spiritual level, to help you to deal with, because Trauma messes up in every area. Spirituality, it messes you up in every area of your life. It drains you. It drains you. It is a slow killer. That's what I call it. It is a slow killer. So you are drinking the poison little by little, every day, every day, every day, and it's killing you slowly. It's killing you slowly. Please, the earlier you deal with your trauma, that you can live your best life. There is help out there. There is help out there. Don't sit there and be sad all the time thinking that, okay, yeah, there's nobody that can help me. I cannot trust anyone. Yes, there are people out there that you can trust them. And so seek help so that you can enjoy your best life and deal with the situation as early as possible as you see it. Some women will sit there in that abusive relationship, traumatize their children, traumatize everybody themselves, and one day you'll be driving and you can have an accident and die.
Very true. Very true.
Please. I've seen people just sleeping in their car and they are gone. Working in the medical field. That's why I could not stay there, because it was too much.
Yeah.
It was too much. And when you open people's brain and you see the damage that it has caused in some people's brain, even the color of their brain has changed.
Oh boy.
It has changed.
Messy.
The nerves are torn. It is so sad. So please, there is help out there. There is help out there. Sika Educates is dealing with this. And if you are listening to us and you are going through any traumatic issue, please contact Sika Educates. Contact her. She's connected with people that can help you deal with all those trauma that you have been going through. Don't sit there and rot. Do not sit there and rot in that dark night of the soul. There's so many people cutting themselves, doing this, causing themselves harm because of trauma they are not dealing with.
That's right.
I want to talk, my last one is about our children. A friend of mine took her child to the hospital, a 4-year-old child, and the child has been sick for a while, and the doctor said they're going to do stress test. And the mother was like, how can a child be stressed? So she called me right away. She said, Pastor Patience, you see, they said they're going to do stress test on my child. I told my mom was like, what is that child going to? Why is he going to stress for what? And I said, your husband left home. Your husband has been abusing you. And these children, they've seen it. And it has even changed their physical nature. I can see her kids. I saw her kids' picture on somebody's page on Facebook. And I know them. I've seen them. I've seen them. So I'm like, I sent the picture to her and I'm like, are these your children? She said, yes. I didn't say anything. My mind was like, how come they have changed so much? And you can see the stress on their face, like an old person. Sika was saying that it makes you grow old, premature aging. That is what happening to the kids. And you can see that they have changed completely. This child, they're going to do stress tests on a 4-year-old. And yes, when they did the test, the child's stress level was so high. But the mother is always screaming. The mother is always screaming. I always tell her when I'm talking with her, I said, calm down a little. She cannot speak slowly or quietly or calmly to her children, always screaming, get out of the car. Oh God. I get scared when I'm on the phone with her myself. I'm like, this person, if you talk with her for a week, you will go mad.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
And so please, let us take care of our kids. Address the trauma your children are going through. If you are fighting against your husband, your wife, and your children are there, please go out. Don't fight in front of them. Don't traumatize them. That's why some of them are not doing well in school. That's why some of the kids are not talking. Your kid is not speaking well because he's been traumatized from womb.
Mm.
Kids can be traumatized from womb.
Mm.
It's like when you have a son and you are pregnant, they have to do stress test, whatever, on that kid. And even if you give birth, they have to test the child. They did that with me because I had an accident when I was pregnant. The trauma that if it affected the child while you had an accident when you were pregnant with that child. So please, as you were screaming, getting agitated, so anxious when you are pregnant, it already had affected the child that you are giving birth to. Everything starts from the womb. It starts from the womb. And so conceive well with joy, get pregnant with joy, carry 9 months with joy, and give a joyful baby. I will end my voice here, Miss Sika and Miss Ekua Mabuatin.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So much. Like she said it all. It's like this. She just poured cold water on me. I don't even know what to say. Kwamwa, I think you're gonna end this one because I'm just done.
Yes, thank you so much, Pastor Patience. I mean, all the nuggets, all the wisdom, and the experience is very, very, very important. Please let us get help. Let us help ourselves so that we can also produce the next generation of trauma-free children. Children who are not going to have to be addicted or be on any sort of medications or be addicted to any sort of drugs or narcotics as a result of trauma. It's very, 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 very important. And when we say that we should get help, one of the things that we need to know is that even if, let's say, you're a Christian, you can get Christian counseling if you want. If not, you can just get regular counseling. Please take money out of your pocket. Some of us who have the benefits. Call your benefit provider in your workplace. How much access do I have for counseling? Use those benefits. And if you have to pay out of pocket, pay out of pocket. Seek help. And if you're a mother and you have been abandoned by your spouse, please go and get community support. When I say community support, it doesn't mean that you are going on government welfare system, but there's actually a lot of community support out there. Like in some of the schools, they have free summer camp for single mothers, that single mothers can register their children so your children can go to summer camp. They can go overnight camps. There's so many resources out there. Even in I know that if you live in Canada, some of the recreation center, if you're a single parent and then your income is not that high, you can get free. You can register at the recreational centers and your child will be able to go for swimming, all activities, all those things. They help to build the child up and give them much more healthy mindset. So there is so much resources out there for you, and you need to go out there and look for those resources. Maybe when your child is going for their swimming lessons, maybe that's the time you can also work on yourself, right? Or you can also be taking swimming lessons. You can also maybe be playing, join a yoga or whatever that you believe in, that you want to take part in, to really build your mind up. So there's so much resources out there. Please don't dwell on your past trauma. Find better mechanism to cope. Get help, because a lot of things going on in our community, both in the diaspora and both the way Africa as a continent is doing, is because of all this trauma that we keep on building on trauma. We're not building on a solid foundation. We are building on trauma of this one bites me, this one hurts me, and then we had a Muslim president and they did this, and then now this one is a Akan president, or this Igbo president has come, so he too is doing that. This is what we are doing. We're just recycling trauma on the continent. And then we come to the abroad and we're still doing the same thing, right? So we need to make sure that we are getting help. Let's take care of ourselves. We want to live long. We don't want to go to work and the next you hear we've
Hmm.
passed out. Some of us, we are not even able to go into our own homes.
Hmm.
And one of the things I want to also stress is that, please, even if your abuser is your own mother and they refuse to change, find ways to cope with that. Don't be throwing yourself back into that place where you are continuously being victimized.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take yourself back to a place where you're continually being abused and continually being victimized.
Hmm.
I always say the way people see themselves or the way people react to you is because of the way things that are going on in their own lives.
Hmm.
There are some people that when they get to their house, sometimes they're even afraid to go into their own home.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it could not be their own, it could not be their husbands who are abusing them. It's their own family members that are abusing them.
Hmm.
And because they are family, they find the need to still tolerate them at the expense of your own sound mind,
Mm-hmm.
at the expense of your own children. You
Mm.
need to examine yourself and
Mm-hmm.
set your priorities right.
Mm-hmm.
And set your priorities right. We should not allow ourselves to be re-victimized.
Mm.
Some of us, our own family, our moms, they are so damaged that they are not they themselves. There's nothing you can do to bring them back. And what do? We find ourselves living in that environment. Instead of us to find better ways to cope, we want to continually be indulged in those environments because we ourselves, we don't try to get the healing that we need. So please, as we are talking about this, share this video. It can help somebody. Share it with your friends. We all need to heal as a community, especially we as Black community.
Hmm.
Seek help. If
Hmm.
you're having any mental issues, seek help.
Hmm.
If you're so distressed, you are anxious, you're not sleeping well, talk to your doctor. We don't want to be there. You be there and say, "Oh, this one, the person was walking around now. The person is gone." Please seek help. Whatever stage you are in, you can seek both medical help and spiritual help. If you're a Christian, you can seek prayers at the same time. I advise you to seek counseling because you need a balance of both. You can't go for one and leave the other. Balance it all out. And I pray that God that helped Joseph, brought him from the pit, from prison, and made him the prime minister. You can also become the prime minister of your time.
Mm.
Only you seek the help that you need
Mm. Mm.
and you seek the healing that is required. The Bible says when Joseph saw his brothers, he wept. That is the point of his realization. The point of his healing is when he cried. So if you have not come to that point, it will be hard for you to become the prime minister. So, Sika, all I'm going to say is let's all seek help. Let's not dwell on the traumas, the rejection, the abandonment, the rape, the mother-in-laws that are evil towards us. We don't want to dwell on all of those. Rather, we want to move to a place of healing. And
Yes,
whenever you heal, there's restoration.
that's right.
When you heal, there's restoration. So let allow ourselves to be healed so that there will be restoration. That as we move into the new year, we will have people to share with us how things have turned around because they have seek help.
Mm.
Don't isolate yourself. Don't
Mm.
hide in your room.
Mm-mm.
Don't hide in your comfort zone. Join an organization. Join a community group. Join a help group. Get engaged in your community, volunteer, help others. As you help others, you also bring healing to yourself.
It's true.
So let's open our hearts, let's open our minds, let's not die in silence. Let's unbreak ourselves, let's set ourselves free from the chains
Mm.
that we can progress. And this is all I got to leave with everybody this afternoon.
Guys, I couldn't say this any better. It's just like I said, it's just like pouring cold water over you and you've got nothing more to say. I'm just going to get my sister to come back in the next few minutes and just share her nonprofit organization information with us so that those of you who live in Calgary and its environments, Alberta, and the neighboring places, you know where to contact my sister, and she's ever ready to help. She has a nonprofit, and I want her to tell you guys about it. But before I do that, something just popped up in my mind as both Pastor Patience and now Amwa were speaking about the children. One particular example that I want to give is that a lot of us African parents have children that are doing things out of the norm. Pastor Patience mentioned about sometimes you have children whose speech is delayed and they're doing things out of character. They're having stress tests on your children and you don't understand. Another big one is bedwetting. Bedwetting, that thing. People, oh, it's a stronghold, is a devilish thing, is this, is that. It's all because of anxiety and trauma that children have been subjected to. When kids can't speak and they bottle it all inside, it leads to behavioral things that don't make sense to you and I, but it's happening. There's somebody that I know, and I would swear by anything that there was some trauma that this young boy witnessed. It's why he's the way he is. You have a 10-year-old son and he can't seem to control his urine. At his age, he'll just be stood there and it's all just coming out and you don't understand. Don't just sit there and be beating these children up and why can you, a big man like you, if you need to go to the washroom, why can't you say it? It's much, 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 much deeper than you think. Much deeper than you think. The body is a very interesting, engine thing that God has given to us. We're all spirit beings living in an outer shell, the body. Very delicate, very interesting. That's why the Bible says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. You can't understand it, but we're very delicate people. One little, tiny, minute thing goes wrong and the whole thing comes crumbling down. So please, this is a very serious issue. We've tried to talk about it and make it as exciting as possible, but it's a very important thing. Until we are prepared to do something about it, we go nowhere. So, Kwama, please end this. I'm not going to say anything. We're done, but I want you to end this for us.
Okay. Thank you, Sika, about bringing up the bedwetting thing. And I just quickly just want to add to that. Sometimes our children experience trauma that we do not know of.
Mm,
So if your child is delay in speech or your child is behaving a behavior that's not normal for their age, you as his parents, especially if you live in the diaspora, please quietly pack them and go and give them to go and see a specialist.
mm,
Okay?
mm,
Take them to go see a specialist. Do not overwhelmingly get yourself involved. Accept the diagnosis and ask the doctor, what can I do to help my child?
mm,
That is what you need to do as a parent. Because honestly, we will talk about this later. There are
mhm,
so many things that we do to contribute to the success of our children in this part of the world, something that can make or break them. So if we want to raise children who can make us proud, it's not just food, it's not just shelter. There's many things that we can do to help them. So we will talk about that another time. So really, Tika, thank you for bringing that up. So let's watch for signs in our children that are very unusual and to really notice some kind of trauma they might be going, whether they're being bullied at school or somebody is traumatizing them in any shape or form. Please, let's be very, very attentive to those things. Okay. So Going back, I do have a nonprofit organization, and the goal of the nonprofit organization really is to promote the idea of science, technology, mathematics, and engineering in the Black community, and to really encourage our young ones as young as 5 years old to really aspire to be scientists. We want to aspire them to be innovators. We want to aspire them to do great things. So if you live in the Calgary and area and you are interested, you can go into my website. I have put it in the chat. It's www.aejf.ca. There's a contact form there. You can fill it out, and then we'll let you know of our next workshop. We are currently going to be having a workshop coming up in the month of February. It's available to register. If you go to Engineering for Kids Calgary, you find us there and you can register on that website. You can register your child there for our next workshop. Also, be on the lookout. We are planning to have some stuff online coming next year, both for adults and also for young ones. Really, so that
Adult.
you can
Yay!
learn a few things. We can learn a few things. So we're going to use some of our Friday nights to really, because we want to inspire, because you're never too old to learn something new. We want our community to be high income earners. We want to move you from a place of dependency to independence.
Mm.
So we really have a lot of dreams out there. Please, you can support us if you want to. You can also donate money, because it takes money to make all of these things a reality.
Yes, sir.
We don't have anybody on payroll. Everything we're doing out of our own resources and the little resources that we are getting. So if you like, even if you donate $10, it's not a bit, anything that you can just go on our website and there's a donate button there and you can just hit and you can donate. But the most important thing is, if you have children between the ages of 8 and 12, please register them up for the next coming workshop, so that they can come and learn how to do some coding, learn how to, give instructions and to robots, and the robots will act on them. So please join us. So that's all I had to share. And just if you have anything you want to talk about, you can just send me an email and we can link up, and we can see how we can help you. Especially if you are new to Canada, you are new to the diaspora, helping you to really navigate some of the systems on how you can become a better person and how you can really succeed in this part of the world. So thank you, Sika, for this platform. Thank you, Pastor Patient. Thank you for everybody that contributed. Comment, please share, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We really want to build the YouTube channel, because when we build that YouTube channel, it will allow for many people to join on. So especially the younger generation, they are mostly on YouTube. They're not on Facebook. So, and we want to get this message, especially this message of trauma, we want to get it across to them. So if you interact with us on YouTube, it will really bring them in as well. So please, as you interact with us on Facebook, also interact with us on YouTube. Subscribe, share the link on YouTube as well. And thank you. And we hope that you all have a very great and wonderful week.
Pastor Patient said something, but I just wanted to ask you, Ekwamwa. So I'm an adult who is 14. Can I also join this program?
If you're an adult that you are 14, we can squeeze you in our workshop coming up in February. Yes, you just have to dedicate your 2 hours on Saturdays to come and learn. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Yeah.
All right, then. Have a fantastic week ahead, guys. We're off now. Take care. God bless you. And thank you so much for being here. Please share the video. I love you guys so much. Mwah. Bye-bye.